4th of February is World Cancer Day, and as you know...
Whoa, wait. You don't have to switch off. This is not that kind of show. This is about the difference that you can make, the strength that you need to tackle the situation, especially if it happens to those that you love. So now you see, definitely worth staying connected, isn't it? See you on Friday at 3 p.m. We are women. We are brave, strong, capable, unique. We are women to women.
Good afternoon, South Africa. We are broadcasting from our offices, Women in Action, from our headquarters in Johannesburg, not only to South Africa, but throughout the world. Why? Today, 4th of February, International Awareness Cancer Day. Don't go anywhere, because many people, when they hear the word cancer, they say, oh, there they are going to come with cancer this, cancer that, and this disease. Today, we have a different proposal. We are going to partner with a theme for 2022 with UICC, of which we are affiliated to. Only 7 organizations in South Africa affiliated to the YCC, which headquarters are in Switzerland, and they sit at the United Nations representing and discussing the matter of cancer. So they have proposed for this year to close the care gap. So we're not going to talk about cancer itself, but our program of today is to pay tribute to all those who have been direct or indirect affected by cancer. And this is why I say not only good afternoon to South Africa, but to all our audience throughout the world, because wherever you are, today is Awareness Cancer Day. What we have proposed is, in the same way that UICC is looking into the matter, several angles, how or in which ways cancer is affected or affects people and their livelihood. So just as a piece of information, the literature on cancer control for low and middle class income class in countries suggests poor cancer planning, overburdened services, and poor outcomes. South Africa has established oncology healthcare services, but also has low cancer awareness, poor cancer surveillance, and widespread service challenges. So those are some of the aspects that we are going to cover today. You might be asking why we are here from our headquarters, live broadcasting to you, having Donna with us today and in our Women in Action shirts. Because as we explained before, being pastors' wives, the second anchor program that we do in how to better service our communities is what we call being cancer supporters. During the past 2 years, we haven't been able to work much in hospitals because of the restrictions due to COVID, but we carried on with our online services with counseling and sometimes visits, because you're going to find out so much more about the topic of today. And one of the challenges, the financial challenge. It is very striking, especially during the pandemic, and that required from us to be more present to cancer patients. So as Women in Action, we volunteer in several hospitals throughout the country, and our work is also recognized in Kenya, Tanzania, in Zambia, and in Lesotho. And we hope to branch to many other countries, because over the past 12 years, we have established deep roots into the community, and we have established also recognition by local doctors, professors, and hospitals. And this is why today we welcome Donna, who is our national coordinator and also the tutor of the work for the other countries. Good afternoon, Donna. How are you?
Good afternoon, Ms. Marcia and my friends. I am doing well, thank you.
Welcome to the show today, and I know this topic is very dear to you. And this is why you are here with us today, because they are going to learn not only about facts, but they are going to find out your personal experience that drove you to be so involved with the topic.
Indeed so, yes, correct.
Now, talking about our proposal today, and I said people don't run away because when they hear the word cancer, today's show is not for me. We are going to start talking about what is known about this topic in South Africa.
So, as Ms. Marcia explained, in South Africa, we do have a developed healthcare system. However, it is resource constrained, and I'm referring mostly to the public healthcare system. So, some of us may be aware, if we have been to our public health facilities, of the challenges that are there. And some of them relate to socioeconomic issues that are there. With regards to cancer care, we're also finding that there's very much low cancer awareness. There's also what they call wide population distribution, where, if I can give an example of rural areas, where villages are very far from where they can find resources. Another very important issue in the public healthcare system has to do with the inefficient cancer detection services that are plaguing the public health system. Also, a big obstacle, as you are mentioning that we are focusing on cancer care, is an obstacle to this in South Africa, where there's very much also low awareness of cancer, but also knowledge in the primary health clinics. And these clinics service the under-resourced part of the population, which in truth are the majority of the country. So when you go to the primary health clinics, you find that sometimes the workers at the clinics don't have information. They don't have much information on cancer, and they also don't have a lot of knowledge on it. So that is an obstacle to cancer care in South Africa. Another issue that was also mentioned is also the little information or research information that people have available with what is happening at grassroots level with regards to cancer care. And this is important because for those who are capable of changing the situation, they need evidence-based information to be able to plan properly, to control these issues that we've mentioned that are plaguing the South African public healthcare system. So those are the main issues that we know about when it comes to cancer care in South Africa, that we are facing huge challenges that can be resolved. However, it's not going to happen very quickly because of the challenges that I've just mentioned.
So we spoke about 2 points here: awareness, and this is where we come in, because part of our program is to bring awareness in different areas and with different communities that we work at, and the challenges. So let us explore a little bit more about a few of those challenges.
Okay, so one of the challenges is that actually 92% of patients that are diagnosed with cancer were presented with emotional challenges, which were stress, being anxious, being confused on what's going to happen. Because I'm thinking a lot of them, when they hear of this, maybe sometimes you're the first one in your family that you're getting diagnosed. So they have a lot of challenges whereby they have a lot of stress, wondering about the future, having a lot of fears. And with some of them, it even reaches them having to be clinically taken care of because of the fears that they're going through. As Bitumelo also mentioned, there are those challenges whereby the person will start wondering, what about my job? Will I still be able to work? As you mentioned earlier, that there will be financial concerns. What will happen in my family? Will they accept me or not? And all the stigmas that surround it. However, another challenge is within the treatment and the services that we provided. Bitumelo touched base a bit on it, whereby sometimes because of the lack of resources that would be that quick in our public health facilities, so reports are delayed, treatments are delayed. Sometimes there's outages of something in the community whereby the person is unable to now go and get their treatment done. So some of them end up getting discouraged because of that, and some leave the treatment, or some go to an extent of looking for alternative treatments, which can sometimes be a huge financial burden on them. And sometimes they even fall onto these schemes of people that are lying, claiming that they could cure the cancer and stop them from getting the treatment. So there's the emotional challenges that they face, and the ones in the treatment, and those that have to do with the services provided around them.
And we go also following those challenges that are detrimental to identifying the cancer, offering the proper treatment, also the prognosis and the emotional support to that person. They are faced with financial challenges.
Yeah, and the costs for the treatment and how the person will also receive financial help. It's not well disclosed for the public, for the patients, not even the doctors. Sometimes they understand how it will arrive to them. And I can imagine now with the pandemic, how things became so much harder because the person needs that specific treatment and the doctor doesn't have much what to do because it's not available, and most of the time he doesn't know when it's going to arrive, and the person now needs financial help as well because there are different diets that they need to go through now. And that's when Ms. Marcia spoke that we came in to support with what we could those patients because they were not able to afford to buy a simple meal to have the strength to go through the treatment. I can imagine as well the transport for the person to arrive there. It's a lot of challenge. And how can we get help? It's something that is still not really clear how the person can, when she's going to receive the help, when she's not going to receive, and the treatment. People are there to help, however, it misses the condition for the government as well to support. And in this way, many of those, they give up. They just end up not finding who can support them. And when we find them is when we come in to give them the emotional strength they need, most of the time, to find where to start, to have this financial help, and also to carry on with the treatment and not just abandon and give up on that.
And we have picked families that didn't have food, and they had a family member going through chemo, radiation, and not being able to have a decent meal. We try to help as much as we can, but unfortunately, the numbers are far more than what we could cope with. But it's one of our projects as well. And of course, whoever feels like that's why it's so important for you to participate of this program, because you might have been wondering, how could I help? And you will find ways through this program on how you could be involved with Women in Action so that we would cover more of those who are in need. And also we have the information challenge.
Yes, because it's hard. It's so hard for you to get the right informations. And we think, as a normal person, the doctor will have all the informations that we need. And most of the times, they lack as well. From the government, they don't receive all the information they need to pass to the patient. And it's a confusion in the family. I don't know what to do. I don't have the proper information in the hospital because they are also lacking the information, and it becomes a confusion in this process.
Not disregarding the fact that we have one doctor for at least 100 patients. And we have visited wards who had on chemotherapy. How many patients?
We've been there when there's like 50 people.
And one nurse.
And one nurse or two, and one doctor that's seeing everybody. And the worst part is when there's a power outage, because that power outage now serves as another delay. So it means not all those 50 people will get their treatment on that day. And as Silmara was speaking of the financial challenge, sometimes they don't even have money to come back the following day. So some even opt to maybe sleep maybe on the street or something. And when others are discouraged, they end up not even coming, because some also, due to the stigmas, they don't communicate it with their family because of the lack of information. So if I don't understand
and we're coming to that point.
Yes, so if I don't understand it myself, I don't know how I'm going to explain it to the next person. So they choose to walk the journey on their own, where else they could be getting the support that they need. So it is actually, the government is trying as much as they can to do it, but with the number of resources that we have, they find themselves also very constrained and with their hands tied and being able to work with what they can.
And we are not here trying to point out our fingers to the government and say you're not doing enough, or the private sector, you can contribute a bit more. We're just exploring the facts and challenges that affect nurses, doctors, medical staff, and patients as much. Before we carry on, I wanted to share with you the story of a family. We are going to have Mama Pauline and her two daughters, Imelda and Bonera, from Botswana, sharing their experience with having someone in their family who was a cancer patient. Let us watch.
Hello everyone, my name is Imelda.
Good day to everyone. My name is Bonera. My father passed away from cancer and he was diagnosed at a very late stage.
And at that moment, it came as a shock because my knowledge of cancer was from school, growing up, learning about it, but never for once would anyone imagine that it could actually happen in our home, in our family.
During his treatment, as young as I was, I had the hope that no, my father went to the hospital, he will come back, everything will continue as normal. But because of the few times I went to see him, I would see that things are not getting any better, mostly because of his late diagnosis, as he was diagnosed at stage 4. And my mother would always tell us, my children, things are not getting any better. Because of that, I had to wake up and see things as they are. And during his treatment, the strength of my mother, the faith she would always confess, and my father always telling us, speaking to us, showing us how the situation is. With that, I had to see things as they are. I had to grow up and wake up and see Bonera, things are not as you hope. Even being young, I still had that hope deep down inside of me. But because of the faith my mother would confess, she would make us see things in a different way. And being young, daddy's little girl, I still had that hope. But at the end of the day, I had to say, my God, let your will be done.
We had to ask God to strengthen us and pray with the hope that one day he would get out of the hospital and be like one of the survivors who were able to beat cancer. But little did we know that God's plan is not our plan most of the time. So we had to brace ourselves and prepare for the future. After we had the news, received the news that he had passed on, it was painful because now we no longer had a physical father to be there with us. But we had to grow up, all the children, because now we had to help our mother, who had to take on the role of both parents.
And life after my father passing away was very difficult, financially, emotionally, and him, because he would do everything for us, that had to change. We had to start doing things for ourselves.
I remember one funny thing is that I never knew how to climb a combi up until my father had passed on. I had to now learn how to do it on my own, go to school on my own and go back home on my own. But as I had mentioned before, everything happens for a reason, and I believe that God knew that we would be able to go on through that situation.
But what was great, what was good, was my mother. Her strength during his treatment and afterwards, even still today, her strength is what kept us going. And the faith that as a family, me, my family, we had, that gave us that closure.
If it was not the Holy Spirit to strengthen us, we couldn't have managed everything the way it was happening. Because I even remember the day of the burial of my husband, I have to stand up and preach and talk. Even her, she's one of the people who was talking in the funeral. She's the one who was chosen to talk. She was very strong. Up to now, the people are still talking about the funeral of my husband. Then they look at me like this. The way you are strong that day. Even my in-law, they still talk about it at the day of the funeral of my husband.
My father may not be part of my life. Yes, he left that gap. But above all, God is that father for me. And today, I've grown to be a woman that I believe, even though my father is not here, he will be, if he was here, he would be proud of me, not because of his own doing, but because of the God that I served, that he served, that my mother served.
But when you have the Holy Spirit, everything, you can be strong, or even whatever comes to you, you become strong for that.
According to how we see things, that will be our result of any situation, of any gap that the person that we loved has left. If only we put God in that gap, all things will come together. And I am a result of that. My mother is a result of that. My sister is a result of that. So I would like to thank everybody. Thank you.
Who knows if you have been through the same path or right now, you or someone in your family or friend is going through the same. But be sure that there is a way out at the end of the tunnel. And we are here to offer you support, encouragement in such moment. We also spoke about stigma. And that is one of the factors in South Africa and in Africa continent that delay or even impede many to get proper treatment. Would you speak a little bit about those challenges?
Yes, we have a lot of stigmas and depending on the part of the world that you are in, it differs. So today I will be focusing more on the African continent and of what the people go through because of the stigmas that are out there. And we have to start first, why are there stigmas? It's because of lack of information and lack of education. We don't have enough resources to educate the public when it comes to cancer, the causes of cancer, and the treatments that are available. So I'm going to touch on a few stigmas that we have here. And one of them is that cancer is a death sentence. And I think that is most dangerous because when you've already told yourself that I'm going to die of this disease anyway, so I don't need to go for treatment. Whereas if for some people, when they go for treatment, they are able to get the help that they need and they're able to live a much longer and better life with the treatment that they receive. So it is not a death sentence. And in African culture, many people believe that it is a Western disease. So it should not affect us as Africans. It normally affects more of the Western people. And it is because most Western people, they do go to hospitals whenever they feel something is wrong and they go for tests and for exams. And when it is found out that it is cancer, they get the necessary treatment. Whereas in African culture, sometimes we don't even go there. We don't even go to the hospitals, even if we sense that there is something wrong. Another stigma is that if you do a self-breast examination, you will cause breast cancer. I don't know why this is, but maybe it's because people think that they will jinx, or maybe they will call the cancer upon themselves. There are many reasons why people don't even want to do the examination. Even if they feel pain, they don't want to do the self-examination.
And they don't look for medical advice as well.
Yes, they don't look for medical advice. They look for advice from friends, which will not have the necessary information that they need. Another stigma is that vaginal bleeding it's because of witchcraft. So here in South Africa especially, many people believe in witchcraft. So they believe that cancer it's a curse, and it is a cause of shame, and it is because of witchcraft. And I think that this is a problem when it comes to a lot of families, because they choose to go through this journey alone. They don't want to be rejected by their families. I was part of those who would go to the hospitals to offer counseling and help and support to cancer patients. And what we would find that would be very sad, because their families would not be even involved in helping them. So we would always be there to offer support. And some of them, they don't even want to disclose to their families, because they say, my family is not going to understand. And I think that is a problem, because not all cancers are hereditary. Some of them are, some of them are not. So if a family member has cancer, it is important to let the other family members know, so that they can do treatment. I mean, they can go for tests. And especially if you go to GPs, they will always want to find out their family history. So if they don't know about the family history, like, oh, my uncle from my father's side, or who from a distant relative had cancer, then sometimes they won't be able to help, because we don't have that type of information. So there are a lot of stigmas when it comes to cancer, because of lack of information, lack of education, and fear of how we will be perceived by the public and our families.
And I'm going to add one more stigma, the spiritual one. For some reason, those who are Christians, they tend to believe they will never going to be affected by such a disease. So I wanted to share with you the account of, what's her name? Pulani, sorry, I am with the name of Mama Pauline in my mind. Pulani, who was and is a Christian, but how she was shaken by the news of having cancer many years ago, and how did she relate in her faith. We shall watch it.
Good day, everyone. My name is Pulani Mutlanti. I'm here to share my story with you. 2006, February, I had a terrible headache, abnormal headache, that made me to lose weight in one night. And then I was on my period, abnormal period. At the end of November, I went to the hospital. The doctors took biopsy on my right-hand side because it was swollen. 2007, January, I went back for my results. They told me that I had cancer, Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a blood cancer. I was shocked. I thought maybe something was wrong. I even asked the doctors if that was my result. They told me it was my result because they showed me the results from the lab. I cried because I didn't know what kind of cancer. In my mind, I thought cancer was only for white people. I didn't know anything about the cancer. That made me to get worried because I thought maybe I was going to die. After the doctor told me this bad news, I went straight to church. When I got to church, I told the pastor's wife about the situation. I told her that the doctor told me that I might die. She counseled me. She told me that I should trust in God and believe that God will heal me. So I went home where I'm staying with my husband. I told him that the news. I was alone in the house, crying alone. So the very same month, second week, I started my treatment. After that, before starting my treatment, I found the pastor's wife. She counseled me over the phone. And then my family came to the hospital before I started the heavy treatment. Because the first 10 months were okay. I didn't have any problem. November, I started the heavy treatment. First night, at night, I was vomiting, I was nausea. I didn't even sleep that night because the chemo was so heavy for me. It took 3 days, but I stayed at the hospital for 2 months. During that 2 months, my hair was going out. Everywhere where's the hair, it was out. At the end of December, I was discharged. At the beginning of the year, 2007, I went back to the hospital. They took my blood to check if the cancer is still there. The cancer was no more in my blood. I was so happy to hear that the cancer is healed from my blood. Today, I'm a strong person. Now 15 years in remission. I'm cancer-free, and I'm so happy because I was in cooperation with the doctors. I've listened to them, do as they said I should do, and then also I trusted in God. I would like to advise those who will be watching me that they should listen to their doctor's instruction because it's very important, and trust in God that God can heal you. I thank you.
But that's not all. We have invited Donna to be with us, and we spoke a lot about the facts and information. But the reason why she is here is that not only looking at the national program and also giving the tutoring support to other countries, she started in this journey because of a personal experience. Donna, would you tell our viewers what happened in your past and why today the project of being a cancer supporter is so important for you?
That is correct, Ms. Marcia. Several years ago, my first husband was diagnosed with cancer. And back then, about 25 years ago, I didn't have information about the disease. So the conclusion was after the diagnosis is that when he was advised to go for treatment, which I can identify with what Tammy was talking about, that I'm going to die anyway, so there's no need for treatment. And that was his mindset, that if I'm going to die in the end from the disease, what's the point to go and take treatment? And from my point of view, I had no information, no knowledge, except also I thought that, yes, you have the disease, the only result is you will die. So I agreed with that. But if looking back, I see that if I had the information that I have today, maybe the decision, the direction would be different. Because when you don't have the information, the necessary information, you become blindsided. You really don't know what to do. And for me, it was I wouldn't say it was terrifying, but it was just clueless. You just go along. And one thing that we did is that we went on a health kick. There's nothing wrong with going healthy, but backing it up with the treatment would have been productive. So we got rid of all the sugar, all the processed food, everything that we were doing. And we went on everything natural, teas, lots of fruits and vegetables. That's all good and well. But when you have the treatment, when you are given the treatment by the doctor, with a healthy lifestyle, there is hope, there is progress. So in the end, though with that change we made, he lived for 1 more year. And at the same time, I had a newborn baby. So it was quite difficult having to deal with someone with cancer, disease of the liver, and having to deal with a newborn baby. So it was quite stressful. But the great thing I can say from that, and this is what those who are diagnosed need, is when you have a support structure. When you have those who you can count on, those who can give you the support that you need, it helps you on this journey. When you have someone that you can talk to about what you are going through, as Precious mentioned about the stress that you get from being diagnosed with the disease, the anxiety, the fear, the uncertainty. When you don't have anyone to speak to about what you are going through, what you are feeling, the thoughts that are going through your mind, it's like you are adrift on the ocean. So when the individual has a support structure, they have where they can go to, they have someone that can give a listening ear, maybe not even so much to give advice, but just to listen and understand or to help out, it makes a big difference. So yeah, that's what I can say in this moment. I don't know if I can interject here that we do have, Women in Action do have the support group meetings that we would have at our branch in Soweto and at North also.
Donna, I want you to tell them, how was your feeling as a wife and as a mother of a newborn baby, and all of a sudden, in 1 year, you became a widow?
Oh, it was overwhelming. I remember before Ivan died, I remember there was, when Jonathan was 1 month old, and they were both calling for my attention. And I didn't know who to go to first because he was in pain. And then Jonathan was a newborn crying and everything. And until today, I don't know which of them I attended to first. And after 1 year becoming a widow, it was quite challenging. It sort of like put me in a tailspin that I was a wife and a mother. Now I'm a widow with a newborn baby. And there was a lot of emotions that I had to deal with, which I didn't put out there. You know, I dealt with it on my own. But as I said initially, when you have a support structure, it helps, because I had those around me who were able to support me and help me on in that moment, you know, give me words of encouragement, because I would become so overwhelmed, so worried. And I remember one advice I received, that because I was breastfeeding, and it was like, I cannot be so overtaken by the situation because the milk will spoil. I didn't even know that. So as I said, having those who are there helped it release the burden, because when I would go to the hospital visit, they will take on the child. When I'm after Ivan passed, I still had those who would watch Jonathan while I take care of other things. So it was overwhelming, yes. It was, it seems as if you were just hang out there to dry. But as I said, there was those who were there for me. Other wives were there to give me the support. They will look after Jonathan. So the emotional strain wasn't so much. You know, I did have my moments alone. When I'm alone, the emotions will come, the anger will come, the frustration will come. You know, what am I going to do now? You know, here I am, I'm still young with a newborn baby. What is going to become of me? But as I said, and I keep emphasizing this because it is so important, that I had those who gave me, they had my back, put it that way. They gave the support that was needed.
Donna, talk about the spiritual side. What were your feelings or your questions to God why that happened, because at the end of the day, both of you were Christians, missionaries in South Africa, and the question mark, why did it happen to me? Did you go through those moments?
Exactly. I did ask that question, and I felt that it was unfair because here we were, ended our life on the battlefield, and then he was taken and I was left alone. So I felt like I was given the short end of the stick, if I can say that. I don't know if that's understood, because now it seemed as if I have now to chart this journey alone. And I remember one time I asked God why. My heart was so broken, like, why did this happen? I remember that I used to hold my emotion. I wouldn't express it in front of anyone. And after a couple of months, it hit me so hard that I just fell against the wall, and I just fell down, and I just broke. I cried. I didn't cry. I wept because everything that was inside came out, and I was asking why. Why did this have to happen? Why did he have to leave? Why did I had to remain alone to care for a child? What is going to be of me? But as I said, and I will always emphasize on this, there were those who gave words of encouragement, of support. And it wasn't wrong. I didn't feel like I was wrong to ask God, because he understood what I was going through at that moment. And he gave me the comfort through my friends, through those who were there. He gave me comfort in his word. He gave me comfort in the services I participated, and I was able to recover.
Donna, many years later, I could say about 12, we started the work of Women in Action in South Africa exactly with the project of support to cancer patients. And you are the coordinator, the national coordinator of all activities. Would you say that exactly because you had support and you see the need of support every corner of the country, that you engaged in this work?
Yes, this is true, because when we started this, I used to go out in the field with others. And when you listen to the patients, that was something that was lacking. I concur with everything that the wives said, Precious and them, the stigmas that they go through. But when you don't have someone to give you a listening ear, a support, you don't have someone that is there for you, you feel isolated, you feel rejected, you feel as if you are alone in this journey. And this is one of the things that we saw. Yes, there are challenges, the financial challenges, the medication challenge and everything. But what is most important that I saw was that people needing support, because when you have that, even though you have a financial challenge, but you know that you have someone whom you can lean your head on their shoulder, you can cry to, they will understand you, and they will be with you in this journey. So I remember one case, just to interject here, when Tammy was talking about the stigmas. I remember I came across one lady in Johannesburg, Jen, where we used to visit, and she was diagnosed and she was doing treatment, but she entered into depression. And I was asking, we sit down and we talk to the people, and they volunteer information, and I couldn't understand, I couldn't relate the depression. Where did it come from after speaking with her? And it came because she was feeling like she was killing her children. And I was like, but what made you to think that you are killing your children? She said, because I have cancer, I am drinking from the cup and they drink from the same cup. So in her mind, she was thinking that she was passing it, that they were being contaminated by the disease. And after explaining to her that that's not how it happens, because that was a result of her depression, you can see the relief that came about in her to know that, no, I am not killing my children because cancer is not contagious. So you find many cases, many issues like that from the support group. One of the things that people want is the understanding of family. Not so much from outsiders, but family. If the family understands that what they're going through, not only the disease, but the emotional strain, they will be able to cope. But many of them, they come across that my family reject me, my family, they become angry because extra expenses. Now they have another financial burden because what I used to eat, I can't eat it anymore. And they get isolated. So having support, knowing that the cancer patient, knowing that they have support, they have a listening ear, they have where they can say like the WEA team does, they don't have food and it's provided to them, it makes a whole lot of difference.
Donna, brief a little bit our audience about the work that Women in Action does. Of course, bearing in mind that we're coming out of the pandemic and hospital visits were all restricted, but what are our lines of work with CHOC, with children, with awareness, with support group, with helpline? Would you brief them, please?
Our work has become quite vast and extensive from when it first started. I can say it has matured, she has grown and developed because we have partnered with CHOC. Our volunteers are trained by CHOC organization that works with children. There's a number of hospitals that we do visit, that they do go to. And also the adult side. So we have CHOC, the children's side, and we have the adult side. We have our courtesy call that we do. The patients that we have visited, we just didn't visit them and then like fulfilled an obligation. No, we took it a step further. Every month we call them back, especially during the time of this pandemic, though it was sad moments where we came across that some had already died and gone, but we came across those who requested a visit and we will see to follow up on that. So the work started from the grassroots level of just going to dealing with one hospital. And today, across the board, we are in several hospitals, not only within South Africa, but beyond borders. As Ms. Marcia mentioned, we are in Kenya, we are in Tanzania, we are in Zimbabwe, Zambia, I'm sorry, we are in Lesotho. So the aim and objective is not just to keep it within, but to go beyond, because I strongly believe that what we are offering is what they need. Not that they can't get it outside, but our work is selfless. We reach out to those that are there. We have awareness in the communities, in the areas, and our aim and objective is to go further and beyond, to reach out to those and to bring information more or less of like what we are talking about today, not the disease. We're not focusing on the disease, but on the emotional side, the side that really affects the emotional side, that what happens when the person has been diagnosed. Because when they have that, when they have this information, what we are giving today, when they have that, they will have a better understanding about the journey of facing a cancer diagnosis, and they will be able to face it in a proper way. Family members will be able to understand that I don't need to ostracize this person because they have the disease. I don't need to push them aside, but I can give them the support, because where there is knowledge, there is power. Where there is awareness, there is hope for the individual in order for them to deal with all that comes from receiving the diagnosis of the disease.
Donna, you said where there is knowledge, there is power, and that has been our motto for the past almost 13 years. And something else that I want you to clarify. We don't do it, or do we do it only for those who are from the Universal Church? Or we only talk to Christians?
Our work is not only focused on the members of the church. Our work is diversified. When we go out there, doesn't matter whom the person is, doesn't matter their background, doesn't matter their religion, doesn't matter their belief, because information is what an individual needs in order for them to cope. So that is where whoever comes our way, when we go to the hospital, when we were going to the hospital, we came across all different individuals from all walks of life. And we meet with them, we tell them who we are, and we pass the information. So it's not just the members, we go beyond that. We are here, we work to reach those who are out there, those who are needing information, somebody who needs a listening ear, somebody who can hear, I understand what you're going through, and offer them the proper support that they need. As I said, it can only be a listening ear, as we have learned from our CHOC course, that some people, the mothers, what they go through, it's quite a lot, because they have to leave their children behind, especially when they come from the rural areas. But CHOC provides the home where they are. And when we go there, we do different activities with the children. We are there for the mothers, we are there for the children. So it's not only relating to the members of the church, but it is for those who are outside, those who we come in contact with.
And here we are scrolling our number, our helpline, and our direct number to the project, because we might have someone right now who knows of a friend or a family member or herself is going through this. And you can reach us out through this number so that we can also offer you the support that is necessary. We have something very interesting. You spoke about a few cases that you came across in the hospitals, and we had our own stories. We are all trained for the purpose of offering support to case and patients. I think it's very important to highlight it. We don't do out of our own knowledge or what we think it's right or wrong. We have been trained. Donna is a very skillful facilitator, and she went even a step ahead than all of us. She had special training to prepare someone who will need to pass on and is full of fear, uncertainties, insecurities, and she has been to a few cases about that. I say not all of us are trained for that, because not all of us have that maturity to be in that moment. And when she had to face the passing of her husband, she had to be there and do and be for him what by then she didn't have the training and knowledge. Today, she's trained for that, and she goes, and a few of us, to some areas in the hospital for those who are at the end of their life. But you spoke also about stigma and about the misconception that few people have in relation to cancer. So, Hadi, would you approach a few of those comments that we read from support groups throughout the country, religious, politicals, even traditional healer groups, that it's the perception, the mindset of people in relation to cancer?
Okay, it's the misconception in relation to cancer, and we have compiled various comments within the communities. So the first point, it's about gender and sexuality, because many women, they think because I have, became pregnant at an early age, therefore I stand a chance of getting cancer. And there was one comment as well that said, because I used to sleep around, and that makes me to be on a high risk of getting cancer. And there's also one that says, because I'm breastfeeding, therefore I'll get a high chance of getting breast cancer, of which it's a lie. It's not true, you know. And another one is prognosis in cancer, because many think that cancer is deadly and incurable. And when one of the family members, you know, get diagnosed with cancer, there's one who even said we were even prepared to support him because we wanted to watch him die, you know. And the other one even mentioned the fact that immediately, if I can hear that I'm diagnosed with cancer, I can commit suicide. I can finish off with my life just to, you know, avoid going through the pain of the treatments, going through the pain of the whole journey, the process itself. So it's misconceptions that are within the communities, as we have spoken. And there's also one who mentioned that immediately, if I can hear that I have cancer, I will fall into depression and I will be stressed. And we see also some patients, their health deteriorating because of stress, because, you know, they are overwhelmed, they are anxious, they are depressed, and they don't even take care of themselves as they're supposed to. And we also have another part where they think that cancer is contagious, because they even think that, okay, immediately when one of my family members is diagnosed with cancer, I cannot share the same blankets with her. You know, we have to separate the cups, the plates, the utensils, because if we eat from the same cup or from the same plate, I can get it as well, of which we know that that is a lie. And we also, you know, hear some people saying, okay, if I bath a cancer patient, I really need to cover myself up, wear a mask and prepare myself because I cannot touch skin to skin. And we also have some who actually think when they have to dress the wound, they need to also wear a mask, because if they touch the wound, you know, with their hands, or maybe they just touch next to the wound, they believe that they can also get cancer.
There are so many misconceptions, and we are going to read a few more for you right now.
There are a number of misconceptions about cancer. We decided to explore a bit deeper to find out what people think and know about cancer. Here are some false and sadly not uncommon misconceptions about cancer. Because I have many children, I think I can have it. My brother had it on his private parts, his wife on her breast, and my aunt on the breast. They all had it because they were scared of people laughing at them. They used traditional medicine until it was too late, and nothing could be done, and later died. 3 weeks ago, I was burying my father, who died from prostate cancer. He was admitted several times at the hospital. I kept warning him that they will kill you in hospital as they experiment with black people. People avoid people with cancer for fear of being infected. I think that would depend on how your family treats you. People will look at how you're being treated by your own family. If they treat you badly, like giving you a different bed, blankets, and dishes to use, then people from outside will learn from that and treat you the same way. If you get prostate gland cancer, then you got it from immoral behavior. People with cervical cancer are the ones that get discriminated against a lot because people are associated with sleeping around. With cervical cancer, it's like one has got what they deserve. When I have cancer and my partner runs away, it can happen that he also has it. He may have contracted it from me. I have an example of a neighbor who had children who ran away and did not want to support him when he was diagnosed with cancer. Once you have cancer, it's like when you have AIDS. People isolate you and it eats you up.
Donna, from all that we heard, from Mohadi speaking, from our slide in the meta, which one seems to be the scariest for you?
I would have to say the one that with the family, having to separate the utensils and them, because family is where I can say it's where you belong. You feel safe when you have your family. You feel safe when you know that you have those who understand you. You were born into that family, and now because of something that happened, you find that you are ostracized. You find that they are separated from you. You find that nobody wants to be around you. You know, you eat from different utensils, you sleep in different places. And that is quite shocking, because it shows that the lack of understanding, the lack of awareness that is needed in order for for them to understand that that's not what it's all about. Instead, they're supposed to be bringing the person closer. They're supposed to be there to meet the needs of the person, to help them on their journey, regardless of what the outcome would be.
Donna, to me, I have quite a few of them, but one that stands out and it's so shocking is the misperception that someone who has prostate cancer or cervical cancer is a result of their behavior, their immoral, promiscuous behavior, not knowing that cancer is a disease that is the result of malformation of cells, and it doesn't have necessarily any link to any immoral behavior.
And one of the most shocking things that I have come across is when we had our support group. There was a lady who had breast cancer, and fortunately enough, they got it on time, and they removed the breast that was affected. But her fear was that her husband would leave her, her husband would not love her anymore, or she would be less of a woman because she only has one breast. And that really shocked me, because her husband was very supportive, but it was because of her misconception of having one breast would do to her relationship.
But this misconception probably came from the fact that many women are left alone because of cancer.
And sadly, we see it even with childhood cancer, whereby we go to these to the chalk houses, or maybe we go to the wards where the kids are, and you just see this woman in tears crying because she's been ostracized by the family. Her partner has left her, or those that, because they've witnessed that happen with their friend, they choose to keep silent. So she will be there going with the child to the visits to the doctor, getting the child out of school, treatments, and all of those things, and going through the emotional toil on her own, because she fears that once she speaks, the husband's family or her own family will say she's cursed, because why is she the one that has a child that has cancer? What did she do? Who did she cross? What did she do wrong in her path that now that curse has been passed on to their child? And now even in future, no one wants to marry that girl, because they say, no, you give birth to kids with cancer, but not realizing, as you said, it's just a malfunction of our cells. And because people don't understand that, they end up taking decisions, or even making an already hard and difficult situation become even much more harder, because now this young woman, because we see even young women being there, it's her first baby, she's there now confused with that infant and not knowing what to do, how to do it. But then now immediately she has to worry about, what about my family? What about my relationship? So she's not just at that moment dealing with that hard statement she just got, or that hard diagnosis, but now she has to deal with people leaving her on her own. And touching base on the support is the difference that I saw, because I got to go to both the adults and the children. With the children, because they have the support system, as Ms. Donna was touching base on that, their response to it is even much more positive, because it's not because maybe with kids it's easier. No, because they are not there on their own. So his mom, his dad, his aunt, his sister, they're all there rallying around that child, with the families that allow it to happen, that are okay with it. So that child does not feel alone, because I feel that it's also a very emotional disease as well. So if you feel alone, you already feel like no one cares about you, no one likes you. And as Mokhadi spoke of stress, they are not eating properly, because when they're sad, they don't eat. They are not emotional eaters. So they feel on their own and they leave that base. So I think that's what families really need to think of as well. Before you just jump into the ship of we're leaving you, we're blaming you, let's understand what that person that got the news is also going through. So with the families, with the kids as well, there's nothing that anybody did, because as you said, the stigma of saying maybe you did something in your past. So what did that little child do? They didn't do anything. It's just a matter of cells, and there's nothing anybody can control or do with it.
I hope we have given you a lot to think about. And the point is, what can you do to close this care gap? Just after the break, we are going to talk about two things: empathize and have compassion. Compassion. Stay put.
Everything dark and gray, life so empty, taking strides with no direction. All on my own, independent, living my way, and I couldn't see that I was never alone. Running away from your love, wasting my life in sin and not seeing you. But now I see your love, how much you care for me. Now I see what I couldn't, that you were always with me. You were always with me. But now I see your love, how much you care for me. Now I see what I couldn't, that you were always with me. You were always with me. And I couldn't see that I was never alone. Running away from your love, wasting my life in sin and not seeing you. But now I see your love, how much you care for me. Now I see what I couldn't, that you were always with me. You were always
Beke, people are seeing our mugs, and guess what?
What?
They want it.
Really? So we have to give the people what they want.
You heard right. The Woman to Woman mags are now available for purchase in the bookstore. You can now enjoy your favorite cup of tea, coffee, whatever you fancy, in the best kind of way, the woman to woman kind of way.
When you get yours, please share with us when you're watching Woman to Woman, and let's see how you use your cup.
What are you still waiting for? Get yours now.
When we finished the first part of this show, as a matter of fact, most of the show, we spoke about how to close the care gap. And I wanted to share with you something that God has taught us, reading with you 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 8. Finally, all of you, be like-minded, be sympathetic, love one another, be compassionate and humble. Here is God's recipe of how to close the gap that you might not see in your family, that you might not have in your neighborhood. But I'm sure somewhere in your community, in the church, they going through similar situations like this. If not exactly like this on account of cancer, they might be going through tragedy somehow. And you have the power, being a Christian, to help them closing this gap, starting by empathizing. Put the judgment aside. Do not question why, who's to blame, but look at the person as a soul in need of your support, your help. Be like-minded with the Word of God, sympathetic, and love one another. Love makes us to break barriers, the barriers of stigma, of prejudice, society barriers, and family barriers. Stretch out your hand so that you can help someone. You might say, I'm not a volunteer, I'm not a nurse, I am not a social worker, but you are a Christian. You are a human being, and you know how to show love. Even if you don't have the right words to share with, have good ears, because many of them, they just need someone who are going to listen to their pain, is going to give them a hug, or just say, we are going to be together in this journey. Be compassionate, and the verse finishes with being humble. Put aside your prejudice, your conclusions, your judgment about any matter. Just be there for someone. This is what we have been trying to do as Women in Action, as pastors' wives giving back to the community. We're trying to give strength because we have felt the pain in our family, as late Pastor Ivan, 2 other wives that we had, another pastor who passed on with cancer. And we never doubted that they were chosen by God and they had finished their race. This is the same that we do towards people. I'm going to invite Donna to pray for us today, to give us this open mind about it, to comfort those who have been direct or indirect impacted by cancer or any other disease. So let us pray together.
Father, in the name of Jesus, I give you thanks so much, my Lord, for this program, because it's something that is needed to reach out to those who have been affected directly or indirectly by a cancer diagnosis. And I know, my Lord, that it's going to bring clarity to all those who listen. I also ask, my Father, that you will visit the homes, the family, the individual that was affected by wrong information, the stigma surrounding the disease, and they've been affected. Homes have become divided. Family have been crushed by this because of lack of information. My Lord, I ask that you will comfort this person who is overwhelmed, depressed, suicidal, confused, anxious, stressed out, and not knowing what to do. Comfort this person right now, my Lord. Let them know that there is hope, and that hope is you, my Lord. Make a difference in the lives of all those who will listen to this program, and let a change begin to happen. In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, I ask you, and I give you thanks, my God, for what you are about to do. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. So we have come to the end of our show today. And I'm sure we gave you many things to think about. That's a wonderful beginning of the month of February. That's going to be a wonderful journey as well, because our motto is knowledge is power. So today, you were empowered far more than just discussing the disease. Until next week, 3 p.m., with another topic, with another subject, with another exciting show. And this is what we're talking about.
What comes to mind when you hear these words? Budgeting. Savings. But wait, what if we told you all of that work can help you to achieve? So make sure you don't miss this Friday at 3 p.m.
God bless you all, and until next week, Friday. Bye-bye.